Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And in studio, I have a person that is a friend of a lot of things that Detroit is Different loves, as far as the culture, coming together with the community, and definitely that creativity. Someone that's a writer, but also an organizer and a friend of many when it comes to uplifting a lot of what our community has. Rakia, how are you today?
I am doing well. It's a good Monday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the weather is back warm. You know, we thought we was losing the summer, but we back. So I'm feeling the energy.
All right. That's all good. All good. So these Detroit is Differents always start on your Detroit stories.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, how many generations deep to the city is your family to Detroit?
Yep. So I'm a third generation Detroiter. My grandma came up here from York, Alabama. I want to say in the late 50s, maybe early 60s, because my mom was born in 65.
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere around there. Yeah.
Okay. York, Alabama. Where is that at?
So it's near the border of Alabama and Mississippi. Toward the bottom of Alabama, a little small town in Sumter County. All my family, well, not all, but a lot of them, especially growing up, lived down there. There was one street. All my family lived on this one street. So when I was a kid, we would come down for the summer and it was lit. Like we would just be down the street playing with our cousins the whole street. But yeah, for generations, that's where my family resided. I've been tracing a little bit of my lineage, and yeah, it goes back. I want to see at least 3 generations prior to my great grandma. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So York, Alabama, right on down that way. And you spent time down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How small of a town is it?
It's pretty small. Like a lot of the essentials needed, like Walmart. You know, Walmart is like the club in the southern city. Southern cities. So we would have to drive to Mississippi for that, or even like the closest bar. So you got a cemetery. You got like a Piggly Wiggly. You got, like the town hall.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's really it. You got a couple other little small convenience stores. My great grandma actually had a shack that was like a convenience store way back when, but not much there. I don't know the population offhand, but it's not a lot of people.
Okay. I'm surprised you didn't mention a church in that space.
Oh, it's a church too. Yeah, you gotta have a church. Definitely a church too.
All right. So now along this way, where was your family settled when they made their way to Detroit?
East Side. So I'm born and raised, still reside on the East Side. That's where my family settled. My grandmother, their first house was the Canfield neighborhood. So if you are familiar with, it's over by, not far from the Stellantis plant, off of like Warren, French Road area.
Okay.
I forget the name of the school, but that's where they first lived. And then they moved. Same street as where Feed 'em Freedom Growers is actually, but right there on Manistee. Yep. So my grandmother lived there. My great auntie, which was her sister, lived on that street. My godmother, who was also my mom's godmother, lived on the street. My auntie, who was my mom's sister, lived on Manistee as well, but she lived around the corner for a little bit. And then we meaning my mom, dad, myself, and my brother when he was just a little baby, we also lived on Manistee until we moved when I turned 5. So yeah, after they got settled off of Warren French Road area, they moved to Jefferson Chalmers, and that's where we were until my grandma lost her house.
All right. So Jefferson Chalmers as a community, so people can kind of get it, that Feed 'em Freedom, shout out to Mama Myrtle, Baba Wayne, Curtis, and everyone else that puts in the love there.
Family.
Uplifting that, but along with that, that's very close to the river, not far from the Fisher Mansion, not far from, as I say, the water's right there. That's what's definitely known, and it's part of that Detroit where it's like, okay, some people got water in their backyard.
Yeah.
Definitely that.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I don't remember much of the canals growing up, or it was there, but it wasn't like a significant thing to me. I didn't realize how significant and how like much of a resource and asset it is until I got older, which is crazy. But we went to the parks along the water, like we called it Lakeview Park, but it's called AB Ford in the city. That was like one of our go-to parks. We didn't really go to the one that's near Coriander. But yeah, me and my cousins, we all grew up together. We would run the neighborhoods and yeah, we was around the water. It was really cool. Maharis was another park that we spent a lot of time at. So.
Okay. Your parents growing up, what were they doing as you were maturing in your age?
Yeah. So my mom, she is why I'm so crafty today and eclectic. She always had on her cute little costume jewelry and fun outfits, but she was a very crafty lady. Still is. She likes to make things and sell them. And outside of that, she would work as like a noon hour aide. I think they call it something different now in the school, but like the teacher assistant, basically, or like the lunch assistant. So she did a lot of that work. She actually worked at the elementary school that I went to. Shout out Brewer Elementary. It doesn't exist anymore. It was one of the schools that got torn down. But yeah, she worked there for a while. So like early childhood education, kind of like working in schools as an assistant is what she mostly did. But she didn't work a whole lot. My dad was the one doing all of the work. So he was like part-time military. He worked for the city. So before the city was contracting out like trash pickup services to other companies, that was something that the city was responsible for, like back in the 90s. 90s. And my dad worked in that department. He also worked for like plants, some chemical plant. I remember it like the smell. He would come home radiating. It was a very peculiar smell. But it was cool when he worked for like trash pickup because he would like bring home all these like cool things he would find during trash pickup and all this change. So we would like spend weekends like cleaning off pennies and putting them in like penny rolls and take it to the bank. But yeah, he did that. Eventually left that department, still worked for the city within like their public lighting department doing like mail carrying. So he knew some of everybody throughout the city. He knew all the streets. So I am pretty directionally aware. And it's because of my dad. Like when I was a kid, he would always tell me, whether we're taking the street or the freeway, he's like, you got to pay attention to where we're going. I'm just trying to sit in the backseat and chill. But I guess I appreciate it now because like I'm pretty good at knowing my way around. But yeah, it's through that work he was doing there. That I learned the importance of that because he had these routes and he would just drive throughout the city all day, basically talking to people, delivering things. Then the city did like budget cuts, so he got laid off from that. And yeah, I think from there, he eventually retired. But on and off, he was with the city. 1 minute they had money, another minute they didn't. But that continued for him. From the 90s through me being, I want to say through my late 20s.
So he's worked in a lot of mayoral administrations, I'm guessing, or under.
Yeah.
Being a city employee.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm sure he has takes on possibly, did he work under Coleman Young at any time? Or you're unsure?
I'm unsure, but I want to say no because I feel like he didn't start working with the city until like the 90s.
So probably an Archer administration,
it was more so
Patrick
Archer
administration, possibly some of the Duggan administration if you're talking about all the way through your 20s.
And
that
was
obviously a
Dorothy,
big administration as well. So he's seen Detroit city employees have a lot of different stories to tell about the lens of what was happening politically in Detroit.
Yes. And I haven't, as someone who likes to like capture stories and everything, I haven't sat down with my dad yet to like talk about that journey in his life yet. And I feel like that's something I need to do.
Yeah, I think that'd definitely be interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, you already mentioned Brewer. Where was Brewer at? What was the experience there for you as a child?
Man, Brewer is right near Denby, if you're familiar with the East Side. So it's on Hayes off of Houston Whittier. It's now a park. And we lived 2 blocks away. So I would get walked to school. So Brewer Elementary was very Black. It wasn't technically listed as an African-centered school, but you can tell that the teachers there had that influence. Very Black school. So every morning, we would come in, and you know how you would have like the school announcements in the morning. We would have that, and then we would have to recite as a class or as a school, I Am Somebody, which is a poem that I still use in like my writing workshops with young folks especially. We would have to sing Lift Every Voice for Christmas plays, events. We didn't do like the traditional Christmas songs. We was doing Temptation. Okay. It was very Black. Okay. Shout out to Mama Het. She is also one of my teachers from there. Yeah.
Okay. And what era are we talking?
So this was I'm born 1990, so I'm a 90s baby. So I was at Brewer from 95 through 99.
Okay, so that's during the time when Kwame Kenyatta and many others moved forward with African-centered education being the premise for the Detroit public school system. So that ends up kind of touching on many different schools.
Yeah, I can definitely tell.
A different reality, especially from what's happening right now, especially from a federal mandate, Lord knows.
Right, and it's crazy because, you know, the schools were still under-resourced. Like, you can look at the condition of our books, and we wasn't, like, resourceful in that way, but our teachers still, like, supplemented that for, like, the way that they showed up and cared for us and just the context and how they taught.
Okay. All right, so from there, where do you go for middle?
I went to Dorothy Fisher Magnet Middle School. I still don't know what a magnet middle school is.
Magnet school is, I went to Halley Magnet Middle School. Magnet school is kind of what we would consider what a Cass Tech or a Renaissance would be. So it's a school that can welcome in students from outside of like the neighborhood.
Okay.
It may have like a strategic track. So like a Bates is a magnet like school. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, yeah, Dorothy Fisher Magnet Middle School is where I went. It was in a neighborhood still. And we moved one time. So at first the school was on Kingfisher off of Houston Whittier, and then it moved over to East State Fair where the Howman Rec Center is.
Oh man, East State Fair. That's a whole nother type of community and culture over that way.
It is very interesting, but that school also like lended to like how I show up in the world now. Yeah, like that was a time where we still had like extracurriculars in middle school. Like I had cooking classes, was learning French. I was on a science Olympiad team, which is basically like an after school program where we get together as a group of kids who were interested in this, and we would do science projects and even compete against other schools. But like there weren't many other public schools from Detroit within that. So we would be traveling to the suburbs to compete with a bunch of white kids on scientific stuff. This was in elementary school, but also continued to play the violin. That started in 3rd grade, but
what was it about the violin that spoke to you, or was it one of those things where your parents were like, hey, you should pick this up?
That was really it. It was like, okay, this is available, you play that. And then I ended up playing through senior year of high school.
Did you
played
like
10
it?
years.
Did you like it?
I did. I liked it on and off. You know, the more I reflect on it, the more I really appreciated the experience because I got to do some really amazing things. But I didn't like the discipline part of it because, you know, you had to practice, especially in high school. Like I had to cut my fingernails down to a certain length and the lessons, like it was very strict because you got to be precise with the notes and all of the things.
So that goes to where do you go for high school?
Aztec. You know.
Okay, and you played violin at Cass?
I did.
So yeah, that's definitely gonna be strict right there.
Yeah, it was, and I didn't want to go to Cass. I was going to be a King Crusader. Got in, took my ID and everything.
Because you're an East Sider. You were thinking, let me go to the East Side school.
I was like, this school too bougie for me. And it was. It was very elitist. And I still feel that way. No shade, but it is what it is. But I went there because my friends from middle school were there, and I got in through my violin. I didn't pass that that test they make us take. But I continued to play the violin through high school, and I was able to have some cool experiences, like be a part of the all-city orchestra where we played at the Fox Theater. That was amazing. Yeah.
Okay. Would you be able to to pick up and play something right now? If somebody gave you a violin, would they be like, hey, let's get in this jam session?
I know how to read the tempo of the notes and some of the notes, but it's going to sound real scratchy.
Okay. All right. Just get you a couple of lessons in, and then a little bit of practice.
Twinkle.
Then you go in there.
Yeah. I do have a violin though, and I do want to relearn. So.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So from Cass Tech, what is at Cass Tech, what did connect with you? Where do you start saying to yourself, okay, I am connecting with this? When do you start moving towards the writer that I know you as?
So shout out to Miss Green, who I know is also your cousin.
That's my big cousin.
Yes.
Love my big cousin.
Yeah.
Love her. She's
definitely.
She's almost like the oldest of the grandbabies, and I'm the youngest of the grandbabies.
Love it.
Yep.
Yeah, Miss Green was dope. She was one of my best experiences at Cass Tech. Still follow her on Facebook.
Yes.
Love her posts. But she was a part of that, just in how she would guide us through books that we would read and discussions that we would hold. They were very interactive and not these very dry and boring ways. From there, I was actually in AP English, but because I could never get to school on time through my parentals just not getting up early enough, I didn't get to continue that track. But I kind of lost my touch for writing, and it actually didn't start in high school. It honestly started in middle school through fan fiction writing.
What is that?
Okay. So, you know of B2K and Romeo, Lil Bow Wow.
So like the Word Up magazine.
Yeah, that era. So there was that, and then us, the teenagers, the kids, the fans, there would be these forums, and you could write your own stories based upon these celebrities as the characters. So you're writing yourself in. Maybe it's a romance, or it's a drama. That's usually what it was. Maybe a comedy. So you got some dramedy going on. But yeah, it was that.
Okay, so you create your own. You telling that story just makes me remember. Shout out to my kid sister Bashar. Boy, I got her some of these pretty Ricky tickets years ago. Oh my God,
I know that made her day.
Oh,
that was a time.
I was like, I don't even know if we should be going to this concert.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was reflecting on that recently of just I can't believe we was listening to them at
Hilarious.
This age, the stuff they were singing about, but they were also really young. Why were y'all
I don't know. It ain't no telling.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, it was so in that it's you have the characters, but you can create the fiction from it.
Yeah, so you're world building essentially.
And also in that, this is I don't know what years this is, but this is so this is still online, but it's definitely not to the level of it's maybe more blog-ish than.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
definitely
than a forum and post, but what we would call engagement, and people would pick up things, and yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was 2001 and beyond. So when you had Crushbot and MySpace was starting to emerge around that time, and just that sort of very, I'm showing my age here, very beginning stages of from the analog to the tech and the emergence of social media and
the Black Planet era, as they call it.
Yes, exactly.
It's how you get the music on your page.
Yeah, we were really coding, we were doing some that's along the lines of engineering, social engineering at this point. Yeah, we was doing that.
So from that, it's just something that and also kind of like today, but you don't see it from this framework, the engagement, I'm guessing, of other people that you don't even know. The online audience is kind of also, I'm guessing, like engaging and keeping you like, okay, let me write this next story just from the engagement that I got from this one.
Yeah, that would be like the talk of the school. It's like, did you read so-and-so's post? And you have the comment section, and it just goes on and on. But that's where it started.
So from there in middle, and then in high school, you say you didn't really do much.
I lost my touch in high school. It like started, and then by 10th grade, I didn't get to continue into AP English because the whole attendance thing, and I was really sad about that because I really was, very much so still into writing. Like even in elementary school, I was a spelling bee and dictionary kid. So yeah, but lost it in high school. But
Okay, so then after high school, where do you go?
Wayne State. Went to Wayne State for studying something that wasn't at all related to writing. It was finance.
Well, what was the connection to go in that direction?
Well, I started in physical therapy, actually, which was not the move for me. Was not doing well in science classes. And I told myself, so at that point in college, I knew that I wanted to do something that would be beneficial to people. And at that time, I was thinking about how in Detroit, especially, because that's the only context I really had, it was just like I thought like a big part of our challenges as Black people in the city was like not having a financial literacy. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go to school for finance and I'm going to open up my own firm to like provide those educational resources. That was my initial goal.
All right. And what era are we talking? Like, is this early 2000s? Like, when are you at Wayne State?
This is 2008 at this point.
So this is Barack Obama's election year.
Yeah, that was a good time, freshman year.
Okay, so freshman year, you're on that campus. And Wayne State at that time, 2008, is the culture of it, as I remember it, it's a time that actually is more active for a lot of the Black students, as I remember that time.
Yes.
It's almost like sometimes it seemed like, past my 2001 era guys and all of that stuff. But, almost like 2008, 9, 10, I remember just from my DJ, Drummer B, living so close. But Clear Soul Forces always being over there, Coleman Young. Like it seemed like almost like any day, especially like a day like today, September, kind of warm.
Yeah.
You could go just to the campus and it almost felt like it's nothing but Black people up here.
Yeah, it was very Black. Like Student Center, that was the hangout spot. And in 2008, there used to be a concert series at Wayne State called the Mad Anthony concert. And the last one was in 2008. Big Sean performed. This was like at the emergence, like as he emerged as
of his career. This is like this is around that Champagnes and Chardonnay. Because I remember Big Sean and Big Shan. Because actually, I don't even know if people remember Big Shan. Big Shan was actually like a larger artist, but this is all kind of happening in that same momentum. Like I say, like the Clear Soul Forces, Big Sean, Big Shan, Mike Posner.
He was there too, NERD performed. And there was a shoe store not far from there where a lot of the like
Bob's Classic Kicks.
Yes, exactly. Like this was that era. Like it was big.
Danny Brown.
Danny Brown. Dang, why is his name escaping me right now? Kid Khary. There we go.
Yep.
Kid Khary was big at this time. So that era of things. But yeah, finance is what I found.
So finance is what you were thinking. Yeah. And how did you take to those classes? Do you stay on that course, or was it just one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm here. This is interesting.
I've lived many lives, and my college life is not the person that I am today. So I was not very, very sharp student. The math, the finance related classes, I was just at that point like C's get degrees. But the classes that really stood out to me during those years was like, I remember taking like a business and anthropology class and like an ethics class. And I was really into those, but I didn't like think to deepen those studies. I was just like, I'm just trying to get out of here.
Okay.
But business anthropology was interesting to me because it was the study of how folks conduct business across the world. So I guess that was some of the earlier days of me, I guess in that moment, not realizing it, but like seeing how I am really intrigued by like the study of people or like the different interactions of people. And in ethics, I mean, I see examples all the time just of how the world is today. But it would be like these ultimatums of like, let's see, do you sacrifice a population of people with this one person being the one that is no longer here versus, you know,
it's those existential questions. Hence, ethics is a philosophy that like the AI models, meaning like, and these are questions. Shout out to Tawana Honeycomb Petty for uplifting it. But, you know, if the AI drivable car, so if a crash needs to happen and it's a, you know, if it's a child or if it's a old woman, who will the car crash into? Like these types of existential questions become like real life philosophy on a basis and a premise through things like that.
Yeah, so I was really into those classes, but everything else, I was just
you were like, let me just get through here.
I'm just trying to get out of here.
So when you got out of there,
when I got out of there, it was 2015 by that time. And at this point, this is where life got interesting for me, and this is what began to shape where I am now and how I show up. So I started working at Quicken in 2014 as an intern in their accounting and finance department. And it was cool because most of everyone else who got accepted as an intern at that time moved into like operations. So they're becoming underwriters or bankers. But I got to work in their accounting and finance, and that was really interesting. This was also the time where Gilbert faced that lawsuit or like that trouble of hiring a lot of contracted employees, majority Black, who were let go after their 90-day probation period just as a means to, I don't know, do whatever it is that does for their financial bottom line when you hire temporary contracted employees. But yeah, I was there. I started there 2014. So I was a year in by the time I graduated college. Stayed there through 2017 and continued to work in their accounting and finance. So I'm handling the wires for building purchases that, you know, are thriving in downtown now. But this was also a time where downtown was just starting to, I guess, develop in the way that we see it now. But it was still very empty downtown. You know, there were still apartments downtown that were just for seniors, Detroit seniors. But the buildings are like struggling to get by, so they're not as maintained, but people are living there. You know, you didn't have all the restaurants downtown. At some point, I lived down there because they were giving out some incentive, but I lived at that apartment near the AT&T building off Michigan, and it was not that great, I would say. But yeah, it was an interesting time, and that experience started to shape my mind and had me wondering what was happening downtown, because this was a time when, you know, you had foreclosure crisis really ramping up. We had just lost our childhood home in 2014. You got the water crisis. But at the same time, they're like, oh, Detroit is, I forget the slogan they would use, but it's being revitalized. It's
a comeback.
The rebirth.
Resurgence.
Yeah, you know, and I'm hearing that, and I'm seeing just this little bubble downtown being this thing that they're saying is a recovery, while neighborhoods like the one I grew up in is still looking like no resources, no anything. And, you know, that's when the strategic neighborhood fund and development was starting to come into work. So I just started to have all these questions And I eventually wondered, like, how was this man able to go from having offices in Troy or Southfield, wherever they were, to coming downtown and just taking over the city allowing him, while neighborhoods are still just going through their mundane struggles. So I was like going on this tangent one day to a colleague of mine. She was like, "You should study urban planning." And I didn't know what that was. But I eventually looked into it, and I found myself at Wayne States for my master's for that by 2018. But I literally went to school for this master's degree out of spite, and also just wanting to learn how to be rich developers and I guess municipal decision makers who hold all this power. I wanted to learn how to beat them at their own game and like learn how to utilize those tools to provide that education on the more hyper local level, like in the hood. So that's where it began.
Wow.
Yeah.
So many points I want to touch on that you hit on. So first off, I definitely want to uplift that, like during that era of what would I say? Let's say maybe a lot of this really runs concurrent with Mike Duggan's mayoral election too.
Yep.
But let's say 2012. From 2012 to maybe about 2016, the probability of you being a young person in the city of Detroit, like in your 20s or early 30s, and working at Quicken Loans, it's a very high probability.
Yes.
The access to getting a job there was almost like what people would talk about, like what the automotive industry was.
Yep.
So this is happening concurrently as we're coming out of a lot of the housing crisis that was really highlighted in 2008, 9, and 10, kind of from a lot of instruments executed, not made, but executed through Rock Financial, the original company when Dan Gilbert was partners with that other guy, and the Rock home out in Livonia. You know, I think they actually got into like a fist fight when they ended up, but that's
what the rumor is.
Yes. So then comes Quicken Loans, this new entity that offers. I know a lot of people in my neighborhood and many others like these, as they know, like a lot of refinancing into a lot of the housing stock in communities like mine, but not just mine, but even throughout like families. So it's like, you know, you got that senior citizen and maybe about like 65, and then it's like, hey, do you want to get some new windows and have some money for your kids? You know, you can get this subprime loan and package this up and you go. So basically it's like you don't pay anything on it and you'll be okay, because in about 5 years your family had done something good with this $60,000 and you're okay. But a lot of homes, as they say, hawking the house, meaning like you're taking the equity you have in the asset, you're selling it for the loan, so you get a subsidiary partner. And this is how a lot of the wealth of Quicken Loans that becomes Rocket Mortgage is built. So it's also, it's such a weird reality, I think, that so much of the capital stock of this company is also like running concurrent with also the things that have destructed a lot of communities like mine, because it took away from that. And a lot of people that worked within it are like, this is just the functionality of how things are. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just making this observation of what's happening at the time when we look at the snapshot of also what's happening even in downtown and a lot of those downtown properties. As when my interview with James Tate, that yes, there were money exchanges, but a lot of those properties were given at very devalued rates. The AT&T building, which still sits there, is another one of those properties that just sits empty right now. But at the same time, like for like pennies on the dollar, because of what was happening or not happening, the inactivity of what's happening downtown in Detroit at the time. So now we look at like it's a whole like bedrock properties. Like, I mean, you almost I would say if you're in that 7.2 miles of downtown Detroit, if you can walk like 5 blocks and not pass a bedrock property, it's surprising. But all of these now become bedrock properties, another entity connected to this the what was Rock Financial, then Quicken Loans, then Rocket Mortgage, bedrock properties, like all of these concepts. And then even like a lot of those upstart like tech companies and firms were in some of those buildings. If you look on like some of the second and third floors of a lot of those buildings at one point in time, and you talk about like what's happening at the time, this is all during a Duggan administration, and more and more and more and more and more is happening in this focus of downtown. And I still think it's like fleeced on the dollars.
And I'll add to that, this was also a period where the land bank had just got a hold of the inventory of houses from Wayne County Treasurer. Yes. So many houses, right, that came from the foreclosure crisis, and rocket companies, whatever it was at that time, they were able to acquire some of those houses, fix them up at minimal, and market them as rehabbed and ready houses. So this was also that era. But yeah, this is when the land bank had all of those houses, some of them really nice. You know, we look at the inventory and where it is now versus what it was 2012 to 2014. And these were houses in like University District, East English Village. You know, I was privileged enough at that time because I was working in corporate to get one of those land bank houses. The same year we lost our house, it was in pretty bad condition. So I'm like, I'm 24. Even if I got this house out of the condition that it is, I don't know who to contact to fix it up. And I barely did that for the house I got through the land bank. But, you know, I remember the tours for checking out these houses, and none of these people, they were not Detroiters. They didn't look like me.
A lot of this changes the fabric of, like, as they say, like, Detroit foresees what's happening. And I think COVID was like really a nail in the coffin of the idea. And I got a lot of friends in the real estate, but I see the concept of owning a home is going to become more and more scarce.
Oh, yeah.
As right now, like, I think owning a home will be like what we would consider owning a mansion. It'll be something of opulence. There's so many now entities that were into corporate real estate have now gone into residential real estate. I mean, I don't know if you all drive down the street and see like the Berkshire farm, like the you see like, okay, it's like, whoa,
logo everywhere.
Yeah, it's like, okay, and these are sitting outside where you used to see like a Century 21 sign.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay. So now corporations have gotten into the residential market, but Rocket plays a role in a lot of these transitions, and also the other big mortgage lender here, the UWM, in that entity as well. So like you have two of the largest mortgage houses like in this area, all that have ballooned in wealth and assets really in the past, you know, running concurrent with a lot of the changes in the city of Detroit over the past 10 years.
Absolutely.
And you're paying attention to urban planning at the time. I just wanted to frame that as far as like some of these snapshots when people say like, damn, a bunch of people used to own homes here.
Yeah.
And it's still, we still have a lot of elders that still look at things like that, which they're not wrong for that. And then you got another reality of people that are younger saying like, how do you even buy a house?
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting. Very, it's something to observe that and be in the midst of that while wanting to study urban planning just to understand it all. And I feel like I'm grateful for the experience of studying urban planning, and I continue that work for sure. But like, I feel like most of that program, I was just so infuriated with it all. Just learning it, living it, being in the middle of it, it was something.
And it's definitely difficult because a city like Detroit that is on a gateway of one of the world's fresh water sources, and so many assets at stake, but the property is looked at so much more value than the people. So when you're the people, that's an existential crisis of battling the whole way through.
Yeah.
You know, so from urban planning now with that information, what's your, as you say, like you want to take that and empower the people. What was your plan? How do you begin engaging?
Yeah, I had a few ideas. First, I was like, I'm gonna work on the governmental level, and I'm gonna change things from the inside.
Okay.
And you have to have strategy to do that. You cannot do it as a one person. And I learned that through interning in 2018. I interned under Raquel Casnetta Lopez, District 6. That was an amazing experience, but I learned so much about the city at that time. And I'm just like, there's no way. Yeah, I really wanted to.
She just made a post the other day that everybody's sharing.
Nice. That's good. I was wondering how she's doing. But yeah, I got that experience and I'm like, okay, maybe the municipal level is not my jam. And then I moved into like the nonprofit idea of going about things of like, being a resource and a connector in that way. So I interned through a few other organizations. Well, first I got like the cultural piece. I interned at Detroit Sound Conservancy and learned the importance of archiving. Got to work with some really cool records.
Shout out to Mama Jahara, and let's see. I mean, so many people over there, but also that's a Northwestern neighborhood asset. Yeah. There we go.
Absolutely. And I was interning there where they were still in the midst of trying to figure out how to save the Bluebird Inn. So it really is shout out to them for like putting in that work and just continuing to do the important work of archiving, especially within music, given the rich history of music we have in Detroit. But I got that piece. That didn't really, at the time, I'm like, I don't know how this has to do with anything that I'm going to do within this space, but I still held that. And let's see, from there, I found myself into the service industry for a little bit, just leaving the corporate space. And that even added to it. Like I found myself, that was probably the first opportunity that I realized later that I started to organize. Like we were working under some pretty crappy conditions at the restaurant I was working at. And at the time, I was pregnant with my son, who's now 6.5. And, they were trying to tell me things like, you got to put these bar stools up on these high tops. As if I don't have this big old belly in front of me. And I'm like, there's no way I'm working under these conditions. And they're like, well, you can either do that or not have any hours to work. And it's like, well, I still need to like survive. So, I started to become angry about that and complain to my coworkers. And they're like bringing up issues that they also had. And there were a couple policies or something going on at the time. Like there was one around like raising wages so that service workers wouldn't get tips. And there was like another thing. And I'm just like, we just got to like organize against them. Well, I wouldn't say organize, but I'm just like, we just got to like go against them, like all call corporate, this, that, and the other. I think I was the only one. And then I got like the manager at the restaurant in trouble and changed the tone of the restaurant. But, I was continuing to like be this like angry force, telling my coworkers like, we got to do this, y'all. But that added to it. And from there, I found myself actually working in another corporate space, UWM, funny enough. And that was like the thick of my planning program. Like this was around 2019, 2020. I'm showing up to work with my Origins of the Urban Crisis book, trying to like be this intimidating person. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I'm going to work on a federal level within like the Department of Housing, and I'm going to like change policies this way. Okay, no, I wasn't going to do that either. But I took that knowledge, while I was there, going into 2020, the uprisings are happening, noticing a lot of like microaggressions and like hints of racism there. A coworker approached me to have like this book club to kind of start these discussions. And that was honestly my first opportunity getting into like what could have been like a political discussion space. But it was in a corporate environment. So it didn't go very far. But yeah, that was my first opportunity, like really trying to facilitate or ask these questions. And it just wasn't the audience. But we read Recitative by Toni Morrison. And that story is a short story where she intentionally does not give any indication of the race of the people in the story. And it's about these two young girls who are foster children, and they each have like these differences about their lives, but you can't really tell what their race is. So it's supposed to be open for interpretation by the reader, for them to kind of, what do you think their race is? And it's interesting that we chose that story as a way to have that conversation, because it really allows you to see people's perspective based upon their lived experience. Because in my mind, I'm like, it's obvious on like who the black girl and who the white girl is, but it's like you hear people like wanting to tiptoe around their assumption. And it's like, why? So there was that, and then I eventually left there. I just couldn't take the corporate world anymore. And then I took a huge leap into an AmeriCorps position. So very different pay, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna leap and see what happens. Shout out to Angela Wilson, who transitioned this year, became an ancestor, but she was the one who hired me for a position at ECN to be in this AmeriCorps position. And I was essentially a project manager for the East Side Solutionaries collective. And, this group of grassroots organizers. You mentioned Tawana Petty. She was a part of the group. You had Rich Feldman from the Bog Center, Mama Myrtle, KT, who helped shut down the incinerator, just all of these powerhouses. And they were a very chaotic bunch, but I mean chaotic in a good way. But just like very much so strong opinions, and it was my job to help them like get to the end goal of what they were trying to do at that time. After organizing around Stellantis and creating this book called Our Communities Are Up to Us, and needing to figure out how do they take this momentum that they built through their meetings with Stellantis in the city, realizing they couldn't get the community benefits that they were trying to advocate for, and still needing to take the energy that they had been building up to do something with that. So it was my role to figure that out. So that's where I learned to facilitate. That's where I learned the importance of just relational organizing. It was through Rich that I learned, the importance of having one-to-ones with people and just getting curious about people's backgrounds. So doing that and like speaking very intimate settings with everybody in that group, and essentially taking that knowledge and turning that into a storytelling opportunity to just present in a newsletter to the public about who these people are, what they have been doing. Because I'm like, this is amazing. Like this was my first time like being in grassroots space. I was just mind blown. So I'm like, more people got to know about this. So that's how the East Side Solutionaries collective publication was born. And that's really what pushed me into just showing up in space as a writer, facilitator, organizer, on top of like me doing a lot of reading at that time too, like the 3 books that I had read at that time, like in my transition between corporate and solutionaries and getting to know these folks, was Asada's autobiography, Parable of the Sower, and Grace Lee Boggs' The Next American Revolution. Okay. So reading those books while then, moving into getting to know these people and just seeing so many different things that I had no idea existed in the city, and I've been here my whole life, that just like set me on a whole whirlwind of just like, I'm in a whole new world, and like I'm in Detroit still.
And then Mama Myrtle being like in your neighborhood, family neighborhood too. Yeah. So it's like, this is like down the block for real.
Yes, it was crazy. 2020 was a crazy time on top of like the world.
Everything happening with COVID.
Yeah.
So from there, so you're organizing, you're writing, because I've always been more introduced to you from writing, but it's through that writing, when do you say to yourself, okay, I want to keep moving this pen forward?
Honestly, it was through the push of peers, people around me. Like, I wrote that first newsletter, and they were just like, "Whoa, you wrote this?" Like, I'm like, "Yeah, I just wrote about y'all." Like, I didn't see it as a big deal. And I was like, "Yeah, I just took what I heard from you all, transcribed it, and just summarized it, basically, while adding like this summary of like what I think a solutionary is based off of what I heard from you all." So just really working as this translator. But from there, there was a fellowship call from Planet Detroit. And I saw it and I'm just like, no, I don't know. What journalism? Like, I don't have that background at all. But funny enough, a friend of mine, shout out to PG, who's also like in the organizer world. We went to CAS together.
Certainly.
And we reconnected in 2020 over organizing things. They also helped get me connected to a lot of spaces, especially within the abolitionist context. But they were like, "Yeah, I saw this fellowship and you should apply." I'm just like, I don't have any writing samples. I literally submitted that first issue of the Solutionaries newsletter along with one of my papers from school, because I'm still in grad school at this point. I didn't graduate till 2022. I submitted that and I instantly got the fellowship.
Wow.
And that was really funny to me because when I started grad school, my initial advisor, he was actually telling me that I should drop out of grad school because my writing was terrible.
Wow.
So yeah.
Ain't that something?
Yeah. So yeah, that's where it went from there. And I had the support and resources from Planet Detroit to like build those skills. I started to see like how or my ability to like observe, process that and translate it turned into like some powerful storytelling and just presentation of writing. And I just learned something new about myself of well, not even something new about myself. This is this I sort of had this reunion with myself of what I used to love at one point, and just at that point was able to take it to another level.
Okay, I love it. So now with that, now where do you stand with writing? Because that's kind of how I know what are you working on, and how do you see writing being part of the vision and mission of engaging community the way you do?
Yeah, I love that you asked that question because I brought my little book here today. So what I see for myself for writing now is just deepening my work of creative writing. So I write as a poet as well. It mostly comes out as prose. And I wrote this short story called Home, a story of myself as we find each other, what it looks like. And it essentially ties together all of the things that I talked about here today. So this story is, well, first of all, the photo on the cover is my childhood home. So that home on Alma that we lost in 2014, that's that house. But this is the story of a house in Detroit from its emergence when it was born in the 30s, I want to say. The timeline is not linear, though, but it goes through like the trajectory of its life, and it covers just a lot of the things that homes go through in Detroit, but from that house's perspective versus the person's perspective, but it also weaves that into it. So, you know, there's moments of it being demolished and, you know, the flood situations here starting in 2014, the home being cleared out because the family now lost their home, so they're saying their goodbyes. Just all of these moments, and it's being told from the home's perspective, but it also weaves in this prose into it, and it gives the reader this opportunity to kind of reflect on what home means for them, what it could mean in the future, and the story kind of ends with this transformational idea of what home could be, not necessarily in a built structure, but thinking of community garden spaces and what we call a lot of times liberation zones being the new definition of home in a more communal sense. And, you know, me being a facilitator, I offered like some questions at the end for folks to kind of reflect on. And I want to continue writing in this way. So, yeah, that's where I am with that now.
If a person wants to get it, how do they connect?
I am still learning the best way to distribute. I do have my email you can contact me on and social media. I'm actually in the process of getting more books printed. Shout out to Salem who printed these really cool risograph copies for me. But yeah, just hit me up. Should I shout out my contact info now?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can I'll give out my email. So it's Rukiya, RUKIYA.Colvin, COLVIN @gmail. You can hit me up on Instagram. 2 _ITZ.Ru RU are probably the best ways. And I guess on a note, another thing I'll say within writing, this is like very fresh and it feels like scary to put this out in the world, but I'm also about to start an MFA program in creative writing to just develop more stories along the line of creative nonfiction. And my writing will continue to pair our perspectives, different lived experiences as people with those of non-humans. So thinking of the natural world, thinking of our built environments, thinking of even animals, and how do we pair that all together to better understand each other within our coexistence, just toward a thriving ecosystem, because coexistence goes beyond us as humans, and so how do we see that from this more holistic perspective? So yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much. So definitely check that out. And also when it comes to moving the pen, when it comes to, I guess, like more of that facilitating, organizing space in community, do you have any other visions there right now, at least?
Yeah, I dream of like putting myself out there more to do creative writing workshops. Right now, it kind of happens just like whenever one of my close people hit me up. Like I did one at Feed 'em Freedom called All About Communal Love. And I've kind of been taking the model I did there and have been offering it in other spaces. Like I think I'm gonna offer it at this queer farmer convergence I'm going to in a few weeks. But I also tailored that same workshop to a group of youth through the GDYT program. And that was really dope because they were interacting with it. I was scared. Teenagers scare me. I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, just offering more writing workshops like that and like really putting myself out there in the world, because I thrive on like offering people fun opportunities to write for themselves, but also with others in mind, and just sharing space to do that and making it feel real warm and intimate. So just doing more of that. And I have a community garden as well on my childhood block where we lost our home. And yes, we will grow food there and continue to grow food and pollinators and all of that, but it'll also be a gathering space. Again, thinking of it as a liberation zone where we'll continue to learn and grow together. So offering more workshops there in this very chill, non-structural way, just very conversational.
I like it. All right, so now classic Detroit is different questions. Your very first car, year, make, and model, year you got it.
Yeah, okay. My first car is the same age as me. It was a 1990 Mercury Cougar. I got it, I want to say that was like 11th grade. And it was a little janky, like the driver's side window. It would roll down, but you had to like use your hands to roll it back.
Hilarious.
Hilarious. I needed a power steering pump, I'm sure, because it was so hard to turn it.
You was getting a workout making them turns.
Yeah. And I was driving this car around like 2004, 2005 when that recession happened. So gas was expensive. So I barely had gas in that car. It was always like all the way on E, but I somehow got me and my friends to and from school somehow.
There you go. Where's the first place you went when you got it?
Oh, dang. That I don't know. Probably Macomb Mall.
Okay.
We stayed hanging out there.
Okay.
Macomb Mall to the dollar store just to hang out and shop.
Okay. All right. You're the DJ at the end of the fireworks. You have to play 2 songs, Woodward and Jefferson. What songs you playing?
Ooh, Definitely a Kim song.
Okay. What Kim song?
Maybe Love Calls. I think
Okay.
that's the one that sticks out for me right now. And I also think of Shaka Khan's Night. It's not Night Ride. It's I was just listening to this. I'm about to look it up.
Okay.
Find it real quick.
Gotta love some Shaka Khan. Huh?
Yeah. I can't believe it's not coming to me.
It'd be like
Night Moods. There we go. I'm like,
Okay.
it's night something. Yeah, so those two.
All right. And last question. You could rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
Ooh. Dang, it's a good one. Dang, what's a Detroiter that you like that enough to want to think about a different street name? You know, everybody always talk about how she mean in person or whatever, but I think of Anita. I think of Anita Baker. We're gonna name
Hilarious.
it Baker Street.
I like it. Yes.
Just thinking about her long discography of just hits. We're gonna name it after Anita.
I'm with it. I'm with it. And yes, it's definitely been mixed reviews on the in person.
Yeah.
But another Detroiter show enough.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
This was so fun. Thank you.
This is a Detroit is different.
I finally made it.
All day. Peace.
Detroit is different. Detroit is different.